You are on the rant couch where I rant about whatever my $10 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get one of these by being one of those. This one's for Jeff, who says, rant about whether the change in your opinion of Durarara marks or happened together with a bigger change in your life, or just a slow and gradual shift that doesn't have any special meaning behind it besides the usual change of taste and interest. This is a peculiar question to me because my opinion of Durarara has not like radically shifted over time. But I did recently say that I came to like Durarara more than Baccano after rewatching Baccano, so that might be more what you're referring to. But I would say it definitely reflects a change in tastes. Mostly because when I watched Baccano in 2007, I really did not care about story. Like, I was somebody who thought that the story was the least interesting part of an anime. I cared about, like, the characters first and foremost. Like, do I relate to the characters? Do I care about the characters? Do I want to see their story? Which it is storytelling in and of itself, obviously, but I just meant, like, the plot did not matter to me of a show. A lot of the shows I liked were slice of life shows. I also cared about the visuals, the style, the presentation, the feel of the show. So, Baccano is a show that feels really cool. Got great animation in the fight scenes. You've got cool character designs, slick, badass violence. There's immortals. There's fucking, New York gangsters. It's just super. It's a bunch of cool ideas because that's, at its core, what it is. Like, Ryogo Narita just throwing all his cool ideas into one story, bouncing them all off each other, and trying to create something that makes sense in the midst of it all. And I guess my understanding of Baccano kind of shifted when I finally looked at the light novels, because the Baccano light novels kind of suck, and I really think that they mostly just ride on the rule of cool. The fact that the characters are so cool, the fact that the story is told in an anachronic order. I mean, it's just like a really autistic way to tell a story, essentially. And like, looking at it, it's just not that deep. Like, when you read Baccano, when you read Boogie Pop, which has a lot of similar properties, you really have a sense of that the author has thought through the themes and written his characters in a way to reflect those, and like the story really has something to say. And Baccano, the title of the show is nonsense, or just noise, basically. It's meant to be something that basically has no point and is just a bunch of cool shit. But like, when I was a kid, it seemed overwhelmingly cool. Like, it was the coolest thing. It just had the coolest characters, the coolest aesthetic, the coolest storytelling style, with the way that all the story threads all pile together at the end and create this big epic climax. All of that is fucking sick. But Baccano is not consistent. It is actually, a lot of the time, it's fucking kind of boring. Like, the whole story with Eve Genoard is completely fucking boring. It's a total write-off. You could have not incorporated that book at all, and nobody would even miss it, for the most part. Like, I can't even really say it has its moments. It kind of does, but they're nothing compared to the moments that the other stories have. So, you've got the events on the Flying Pussyfoot, which, when you really watch the show knowing, like, what's all happening, like really paying attention to it, there's a lot of redundancy. There's a lot of just showing the same moments from other perspectives, but not lending anything new to the scene. It's just a way to connect the events, but not actually to like change your perception of them all that strongly. So, just do those redundancies, do the just uncareful writing, and, thinking about how most of what makes the anime good experientially is that they rearranged it, they recompiled it, and like made it into something that would be cohesive as a 13 episode show. But a lot of it is boring, and a lot of it doesn't look that good either. Like, the animation is not consistent, So like, I still think it's a really solid show. I still love the characters for the most part. I still think that it's fun and full of cool ideas and has great moments. But I think that, the original book is sloppy, and the anime, tried to, basically did a lot to fix elements of it, but ultimately, it still has those marks of a new writer, essentially. And I think that Durarara is very similar, but it does have something to say. It has some kind of idea about society, or its characters are being used to explore something together. And while I think that a lot of it is just unhinged madness that goes in 1,000 different directions, ultimately this core conflict between Isaiah and like the ideals of all the characters around him is more interesting to think about. So even if the characters, weren't immediately as cool to me as the Baccano characters, and it doesn't have the 20s setting, it doesn't have the insane over the top violence, which I was a big fan of in Baccano. It doesn't have the immortals, all those aesthetic elements. It has its own aesthetic that I don't think is as immediately captivating, but is still really good and good for the story it's trying to tell. And even though that story becomes a complete fucking clusterfuck, like, even just in the original show, like, my main contention with Durarara versus Baccano had always been that, like, Baccano was tight and Durarara was, like, sprawling, But in retrospect, Baccano isn't tight. It's just pretending to be tight for a 13-episode anime. And the fact that Durarara is sprawling is part of what makes it interesting. So, ultimately, that is what kind of made me flip my impressions of them. Just, sort of appreciating what their strengths and weaknesses were more so than before, I guess.